In this video, we're going to talk about a part of the golf swing that you absolutely have to have in your swing here, because if you don't have it, you're going to play terrible golf, and if you do have it, you're going to have a nice, fundamentally sound golf swing. So I'm Jonathan Chown with JChownGolf. Let's dive right into it. Now, this move is a complete non-negotiable thing in the golf swing. You absolutely have to have it in your golf swing to have a consistent swing then. If you do it poorly, you will always have a very inconsistent golf swing. And what this is your shoulder tilt and maintaining good shoulder tilt, specifically in the backswing. So this is something that I never hear golfers talk about that they're working on. Never hear someone going, I'm working on my shoulder tilt. Never happens, especially for your recreational golfer. So why shoulder tilt is so important? And it does a couple things to our golf swing here, which really makes it very, very beneficial. Now, what we know shoulder tilt is keeping your lead side, your lead shoulder, lower than your right shoulder here. So where you've got a clear tilt towards the ground there. Now what that does, that keeps the club moving on the arc around our body. So it keeps the club nicely traveling on the arc. Because it's keeping the club on the arc, it will be nicely keeping the club on path more consistently. So for you guys out there who struggle massively with path, look into your shoulder tilt. And two, it helps your body rotate nicely in the golf swing, backswing and downswing, because we're tilted. We need to be tilted to hit that golf ball. Golf ball's on the ground. We need to keep that tilt to be able to hit that golf ball correctly with good rotation. So, okay, good arc control, good path control, better rotation. Three very good things we absolutely need to do. But to understand this even more, let's understand what happens when you do it poorly. And there's two things that can happen when you do it really poorly, which result in both shots, left and right shots. So ultimately, when I see someone doing this poorly, that'll be them losing their shoulder tilt. So where their lead side raises upwards, just like this. So you end up lifting the left shoulder. We'll often see people coming out of their posture, standing up whilst they're doing this movement as well, because you can see as soon as that left side raises, it will move the body upwards. So the first thing, most common one that I see golfers struggle with as a reaction to this is they'll have to regain their shoulder tilt again. So losing tilt, regaining tilt. You can see me, just what's happening to my club shaft when I'm demonstrating that, what's happening. When I lose it, and then when I regain, can see how that shaft will immediately steepen. It will have a steepening effect on that shaft when I regain that shoulder tilt again. So that's one thing. Also, it will throw the hands more out in front of my body. So it doesn't have to be as extreme as I'm showing it here. You could do it just very slightly and then regain it again, and that club is still being thrown out in front of you. You've still got a steep shaft in there. So you could have all of a manner of things that can happen with your body in reaction to the steep shaft. Put a card up there about a video about steep shaft, but also really down on the golf ball, cutting across it. It's just generally not going to be a good swing there. And as you could see for me when I did that, I hit it quite thin as well. So something that you see quite a lot of times when golfers lose their tilt, they will hit extremely poor strikes. So top shots, thin shots, just like we said a second ago. What happens when you lift up this shoulder in the backswing? Your body raises up. So if your body doesn't time up this regaining of tilt, bringing that lead shoulder back down again, which will get you closer down to the ground again, if it doesn't do that to the right amount, you're going to hit it quite thin or quite topped. Even if I try to dial down the amount of re-tilting that I do, there we go. Nice little top shot. We can't be doing that and having consistent golf. You'll slice it, you'll pull it, you'll thin it, you'll top it. So we don't want to be losing that shoulder tilt. So another way that golfers could react from losing their tilt would be them to keep that loss of tilt into the downswing, but then their mechanism to get their club back onto the golf ball, because obviously if you keep that loss of tilt, you're just going to swing really over the golf ball. Your club's going to be far too elevated. So instead of the regaining of tilt to get your club back into the ground, they will instead drop the hands down like really, really aggressively. They'll either do that, drop the hands down massively, or a move that does drop the hands down as a byproduct, and that will be really side bending, really, really early. So right side bending. So this would result in a massive into out path. So big hook shots can really be produced on massive blocks. I see big blocks quite a lot of times, players doing this. So losing tilt, body side bending or just dropping the hand straight down to still make up for it. And as you can see, coming into the ball, massive inside path and big open club face. But again, it can result in some pretty poor strikes as well. So let's hit one here. See how hard it really is to actually strike a golf ball properly. So lose the tilt, keep the tilt lost, drop that right side down all the hands. As you can see, I struck it somewhat. See how far right that started in that net. That wouldn't be coming back, that ball. That ball would be staying there. And if it did, it would be turning quite a lot. So as we could see, losing the tilt, there isn't really a way to recover from that consistently. I see more often the regain of tilt, that's way more common. But then I see with quite a lot of, let's say, some single figure handicaps, I see them keeping their loss of tilt there. It doesn't have to be always extreme as I was showing, but even if you're doing it slightly, you'll massively be struggling from it. So that's why it's so important for us to keep this tilt, because then our body doesn't have to make up for that extra variable we've just lost. As we said, we'll keep the club on path better, we'll have a better control of our swing arc, better control of our swing radius, so our club will be really reaching into the ground at the right time, our low point will be nice and controlled, and as we said, better rotation. Why we will rotate better? Because again, our body doesn't have to manage a variable in the golf swing, doesn't have to regain a tilt, doesn't have to keep the tilt back and drop the hands. Both of those would stop your rotation because your body would have to prioritize the other movements. So keeping that left side low, really keeping that lead shoulder down and maintaining that for most of the downswing. So a great drill to do here to make sure you're really keeping this in the backswing is the club across the shoulders. Very basic drill. I used to give this to loads of beginners when I used to run some beginner classes. And what we do here, we just set up to the golf ball, and then all we do, because we've got this club across the shoulders, we rotate and we get that club pointing at the golf ball. So this is used for many, many reasons, but here you can clearly see how it can work on shoulder tilt, because if I lose my tilt, then it's pointing up. So if I'm going to have good tilt in that backswing, like I'm doing here, getting this butt end of the club pointing at the golf ball, I've got a very high chance of keeping that in the downswing. Whenever we see tilting issues, we'll see most often they'll lose it first in that backswing. So really doing a good few of these, even though we said this is a drill that I used to give to a lot of beginners. There's a very, very good golfer who is certainly not a beginner golfer who does this. Rory McIlroy does a lot of this drill. So it can work for a beginner, can work for best player in the world, you know, at times. That tells you it's a very good drill. Sometimes the simplest drills are the best ones. So have a good few reps of that, pointing it at the golf ball. Do a good 3 of them, and then feel that same feel. Keeping that left side down, really replicating that, and then hit a shot. And a way to do this drill with even more feedback is to get yourself up to a wall here. So like me with my netting, what I could do, I could set up to this net here, put the club across my shoulders again, getting golf posture, and now turn, and if I am not hitting that wall with the butt end of the club here, I have kept my shoulder tilt. So if I lose my tilt here, boom, I've hit it straight away. So turning and keeping this from not hitting the wall. So you can imagine, and then turn through. If you want to do a little downswing portion, that will keep it there as well. Maybe if you're in a bay in a driving range, that might be next to a wall, you might be able to work on this and then go and hit some balls afterwards, but that's ideally a drill for home. So let's say I am on the driving range. I'm in the bay right next to a wall, so I can work on that a little bit, and then just like before, then do it over the golf ball, replicating the same feel. So guys, this is an area, like we said, you have to do in the golf swing. There isn't many things in the golf swing you absolutely have to do, but there are movements in there that are just extremely hard to recover from if you do it poorly. Shoulder tilt's one. So when you guys are looking at your golf swing, which I hope you all do when you practice, otherwise, you know, you're just shooting in the dark of what you're doing, you really want to make sure that this is one of the main things you're looking at first. You want to make sure that you are looking at your shoulder tilt and the quality of it in your golf swing. Because like we know, if we do it poorly, we're going to suffer from it. So if you enjoyed this video, of course, hit that like button. If you want more golf instruction just like this, hit the subscribe button and hit the bell button too to be notified every time I put out a video. So keep that shoulder or shoulders in good tilt and you'll be playing more consistent golf.